Hello there, you fine examples of humanity. Welcome back to my world of stuff. Yes, it's been a while. Well, a couple of days since I posted my last video. I'm going to put that right now because I'm off to the cinema again. It's Tuesday the something of August. It's just after the bank holiday. And I'm heading off to the silver screen. And then I'm shooting off to a pub quiz, which I go to most Tuesday nights. I'm going to see Blink Twice, the new thriller starring Channing Tatum and directed by Zoe Kravitz, daughter of Lenny. It's had quite good reviews. I've seen the trailer a couple of times and I've seen other films and it looks quite intriguing. It's not a long film, 100 minutes or so. So I'm going to head off to my local showcase cinema. Next time you see me, it'll be Wednesday. So let's go to Wednesday after this.
The next day.
Hello there, welcome back. Well, it's now Wednesday afternoon and I've had time to think about Blink Twice, the first full-length directorial effort from Zoe Kravitz, which she co-wrote. An interesting film and quite a disturbing film, I think. This is a film that I think you'll see and you won't forget in a hurry. Now, on the face of it, and when I saw the trailers, a couple of months ago, I think I saw the first trailer for this. It looked a bit like another sort of horror film where a bunch of teens go to a mysterious island and are stalked by something horrible and unpleasant. This is that, but a lot more. This is much more in the style of, and I know a lot of other people have referenced it, so it's not a new observation, but it is very similar to films like Get Out, The Menu, Promising Young Woman, and perhaps even Knives Out, Glass Onion, which came out a couple of years ago. It is the story of people in an unusual, strange location where strange things start to happen. But this is more than that, because it is quite clearly, as again has been observed, a post-Me Too thriller about women being objectified and brutalised by toxic men. This is a theme which, since Me Too a few years ago, this has been repeated again and again and again. I think it's become a little bit jaded, a little bit dated. We get the point, some men are monsters. The men are certainly monsters in this particular film, there's no doubt about that. It stars Naomi Ackie, she's excellent. She plays Frida. She's sort of a cocktail waitress, and she's at an exclusive function, a fundraising function. In attendance there is Slater King. He's a self-made tech billionaire. And he takes a shining to Frida and he invites her and her friend Jess, played by Alia Shawkat, to an exclusive party on his private island. They're flattered, of course, and they can't refuse this sort of invitation. So they jet off to his island and they find themselves in there at an exclusive party with a bunch of his friends and colleagues where they're showered with gifts, fine wine, lavish food. They're given these opulent apartment rooms to stay in. And as the vacation, I suppose you call it, wears on, they are encouraged to imbibe certain hallucinogenic drugs. And it's only when that happens that they start to realise that something's not quite right. Their memories start to slip away. They can't exactly remember what's happened. The nights become a blur, this bacchanalian blur of partying and revelry. But Jess in particular has some concerns about what's happening. She just feels uneasy. She gets bitten by a snake. Snakes are sort of a fundamental part of the bubbling away subplot of the film. She gets bitten by a snake, and when that happens, something happens to her. And then something else happens to her. And as time wears on, Frida and the other girls on the island can't remember Jess having been there. Some of them claim they don't even know who she is. Frida remembers, however. She suddenly starts to realise that all really isn't well on this island, despite Slater behaving extremely lavishly and extravagantly towards everybody. There's a sense that all is not right here, and all is not right here in a very major way. I won't spoil the plot, but it gets very dark. Certainly in the third act, things do take a turn. When we realise exactly what's going on here, we see that via momentary flashbacks the characters have, when they suddenly start to remember what's been going on. And it is pretty horrific, it is pretty brutal. These people on the island, these men on the island, are responsible for some terrible abuse and some terrible atrocities. The how and why and the wherewithal of it and how they get away with it or have got away with it. It forms the backbone of the plot, so it would be a massive spoiler to tell you what that is. But what I can tell you about the film is that it's extremely powerful, quite disturbing in places, because of what's happening and the fact that things are happening to people without them being aware of it. That's always a troubling situation. We've all heard horrible stories of people having their drinks spiked and ending up in places they don't know what's happened, where they've been, what they've done. And that plays on this quite strongly. You've got all these characters, these girls are on this island for a good time that they've been promised by this affable billionaire. But all is not well at all. It's a very, very striking film. In many ways, the acting is absolutely superb. I mean, stunning performances from everybody. Naomi Ackie is so expressive. And you can almost see what she's thinking just looking at her eyes and the movements of her face. And that's all about because the fact that Zoe Kravitz has focused very much on extreme close-ups here. There are very few long shots, a few medium shots, but the camera gets very close and personal with these actors. So they really have to sell it by their reactions to what's going on and their expressions. And by God, they do. Particularly Naomi Ackie, you can see what she's thinking and you can see realization and dawning realization that things aren't what they should be on this island. It's all done very well. And what that does as well, by focusing on the characters, it blurs out the background. So we lose a sense of where the people are, who's there with them, what they're doing. And it adds to this feeling of disorientation that we're so close to these people, we have no connection to or conception of where they are. And that's very, very cleverly done, very strikingly done. And it works extremely well. The acting is superb, as I say, all the way through. Channing Tatum, who I mentioned in a previous video, is now becoming one of my favourite actors. He is very good in this, playing this plausible billionaire who is just showering his beneficence upon people. But there is, of course, an ulterior motive and there's something going on behind that. There was a scene towards the end of the film as well, where the camera is, again, it's focused directly on him. And he repeats a certain expression again and again. And it sort of, his delivery ranges from bafflement, confusion, fear, shock. It's stunning. And this scene goes on for about a minute with him saying these same couple of words. A stunning performance. But everybody's great in it. And what's also nice about it, you've got some sort of veteran actors turn up in this for fairly extended cameos. Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense, of course, he's here. He's beat up a bit. He plays a party-going DJ. Christian Slater is there as one of Slater's best friends. Cal MacLachlan plays a businessman who visits and has his own involvement in what's going on. And best of all for me, Gina Davis from Thelma and Louise. Haven't seen her for years or anything, really. She's great in this. She plays Stacy, who is Slater's sort of personal assistant, and she's away with the fairies most of the time. She doesn't know what's going on. But it's good to see Gina Davis back on screen because I was a big fan of her in things like The Fly and particularly the brilliant Thelma and Louise, about which I'll be doing a retro movie review before long, I think, because that needs a rewatch. Great performances, though, and this real sense of dislocation that comes from the whole film because the situation snowballs and we as an audience, we pick up little hints of things that aren't quite right, and it takes time for the characters to pick up on this as well. Then it all explodes into this Tarantino-esque orgy of violence in the last act, which is chilling in a way, and we're so used to seeing this sort of thing, but in a film like this, which is sort of grounded and realistic and has a sense of believability to it, it's shocking what happens. And the interesting thing is that the film is very morally grey, because much as we sympathise with the plight of Frida and Jess, in some ways they are morally dubious as well for some of the things that happen later on in the film. I really don't want to spoil this film, but I will just encourage you to go and see it because it's very unusual. It's not your typical superhero film. It's not a monster film. It's not a franchise entry. It's not a reboot. It's something original, but carved from ideas that have become quite popular. I don't know if that's quite the right word. Topics that have been hot topics, I suppose. It's Me Too. And although we've seen these sorts of storylines played out before, I don't think I've seen it done quite as awkwardly and worryingly as this. It is quite a discomforting sort of film. So I think that if you have a strong disposition and you can handle things that are challenging and unpleasant in places, then I think this is well worth a look. I think some screenings do have trigger warnings. I don't think I've noticed one at the screening I went to yesterday afternoon. Trigger warnings about the disturbing nature of the material. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but I think this is clearly a film that is slightly outside the expectations of the Final Girl type film, where people are stalked and killed off one by one. One survivor has to fight back. It plays with that genre, but then discards it and becomes something else. All in all, though, as a first-time film, incredibly impressive. And it does make you wonder what Zoe Kravitz can do next. She brought a very particular vision to the screen with this film, taking elements from themes of films that we've seen over the last few years and just giving them a slightly different and more worrying spin. Highly recommend it, but be warned, it's not for the easily disturbed and the easily offended. Blink twice in cinemas now. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. High recommendation, and could well be in my top 10 list of films at the end of the year. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've stumbled across this video today and seen a Blink Twice review and thought, what do this bloke thinks of it? Why not like and subscribe? Particularly subscribe. The subscriber numbers are creeping up slowly but surely. Would be very nice to get to 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. But of course, I can only do it if you subscribe. So please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below if you've seen Blink Twice. What do you think of it? If you're planning to see it, let me know. And just stick around for more, because there's lots of stuff coming up on this channel. Right, thank you for watching. I will see you soon. Until I do, yeah, keep taking the stuff.